And every man, woman, and child that was a part of those early days understood that their call isn't any different than the highest pastor's call. And in fact, we didn't even use words like pastor. We used words like John and Sam and Tom. And so if God had touched you in the supernatural way, if you were a Christian and you'd asked to be empowered, then you had a job to do. You had a job to do. And it made it so much easier because these kids or adults would just go up to people and they would have a word of knowledge about them. They would say, I understand, that your mother died a month and a half ago, and I understand, and God understands the pain of that. And can I pray for you? Well, they're real open then. And so there were so many, or let me pray for that problem in your back, or words of knowledge. But they didn't say, I'm getting a word from the Lord. They just came up in a very naturally supernatural way, with either a word of knowledge, a word of wisdom, but some gift of the Holy Spirit, a healing. And they led so many people to the Lord, that way, because it was just an understanding that this was their job. So we would take, it didn't matter who we took, bands of teenagers or adults, or they were all, Peter Wagner jokingly, I'm sure, called them our trained healers. They had no more training. They might have been in church 2 weeks, They weren't trained healers, but they were Christians, and they were filled with the Holy Spirit, and they understood their call, the gospel of the kingdom. And we need to share it. And something had been given us that belonged to the whole world, the whole church first, and then everybody they meet. And we were very much aware that our presentation of the gospel had been incomplete in the old days, because it didn't seem to take at a deep level, at a deep spiritual level. We came to believe that if the gospel was presented, or the Holy Spirit, in that sense, our expectation of what He would do, with the kingdom there, it was going to take at a different level, a deeper level, and it was going to last. So, that's what we didn't even call it evangelism. I remember John spent like a month or so writing up this big evangelism plan, and got all done with it and was going to present it to everybody, and the Lord said, throw it away. I'll do it my way. So John just tossed the notes, into the garbage. That happened over and over. Every time he tried to do something on his own, God just, put it down, John. Don't bother. I'll do it my way. And in fact, it started out with the Lord saying, I've seen your ministry, John. Now I'm going to show you mine. So those were, that was so much in His Spirit, and therefore in all of our spirit. There wasn't a whole lot of attempt in the flesh to do the work of the church. So it looked at the outsiders like, what is it with those people? They're just relaxing, having a good time, and partying around, and then these wonderful things happen. But it came from that. I've seen your ministry, John. Now I'm going to show you mine. It came from that. That was the bare essence of our understanding. Someone came and asked John, John, how do you prepare for the conferences? Expecting some, great holy thing. He said, well, I usually watch the 6 o'clock news and drink a Diet Pepsi. But he was telling the truth. They joked like, oh, that's, what a joke. But that's really the truth. That's really the truth. And one time he said to me, we were on our way in England, somewhere in England, I was getting my purse and my coat, and we were getting ready to walk over to the conference center, and I said, what are you going to teach on tonight, John? He said, I don't know. I don't know. You know, and my hair stands straight because I was not John. And he said, oh, the Lord will tell me something. Then he said, I'm going to go to the bathroom first. He went in the bathroom and came out, and he said, Lord spoke to me. I said, well, that was fast. He said, he told me that the servants knew. And that was what I think of as one of his greatest teachings, on the servants know, which went right along with what we understood, you know, the church to be, the servants.